Hey everyone, welcome to Kempner Canucks. My name is RevTrev, and what a win tonight. A big win, 4-3. The Vancouver Canucks over the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa, in the nation's capital. So I'm pumped to talk about the game tonight, but as excited, I've got a special guest, and I want to introduce you to Jake, and you know him already probably. I want to give a big shout out. Welcome, Jake, to the Kempner Canucks channel. Let's go, Canucks. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. My microphone is properly placed, and I'm good to go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so I've been thinking about trying to figure out a way how we can work together. And then last minute, I send you an invite, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. So thank you so much for taking it. If it didn't work tonight, I would have definitely invited you another time as well. But pumped to have you here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Tell me about yourself and your passion for the Canucks.
Well, I've been a Canucks fan pretty much since the beginning of time. I love the Canucks. I've been seriously as a baby. I had the Canucks memorabilia, and all the way growing up, my parents were big Canucks fans, and also actually Toronto Blue Jays fans, because originally I was born in Poland. I went to Toronto, and then I wasn't a big hockey fan, obviously, because I was still pretty young, like a little bit of a hockey fan, but always liked the Canucks. And then, of course, when I came over to Vancouver, I've been a huge Canucks fan ever since. So I would say 30 plus years of being a Canucks fan. I've been through it all, up and down, a lot of down. Hopefully more up would be great, but right. Yeah, big Canucks fan.
That's awesome, man. And the thing about watching the Canucks is it sure is fun when we win, but there's been a lot of disappointing moments. But what I love is the fans in Vancouver are faithful. They're loyal. They might go on some highs and lows, but at the end of the day, they're committed to this team. So it's just been a blast to be connecting with Canucks fans. And I don't know if you've noticed that yet, but man, doing these streams and these videos, the faithful fans have been probably my biggest surprise. And I just love it. I love connecting with the fans because we're just big fans, just who love to talk about the games, right? So,
well, the nice thing about just the way, I guess, social media is, even though there's a lot of stressful things about social media, the nice thing is you can kind of build a community, build a fan base, and it's just, if you want to find people just to talk with similar interests and niches than you, and like hockey or Canucks, for example, it's the place to be, right? And I did that with wrestling. I'm a wrestling YouTuber. I'm actually making my return next week, so I'm pretty excited about that. And also I've just been dabbling a little bit here with hockey when it comes to streaming and stuff like that. So I'm excited. I've been a huge Canucks fan for a long time. I know you've been a huge Canucks fan for a long time. This is actually the first time not only have I talked to you, but I've ever seen you. I've seen your streams, but I mean face to face, kind of like this. So yeah, it's actually kind of cool that it's just kind of random, impromptu, kind of a little bit.
Right? Yeah. And it literally was
literally, he messages me a second ago. You want to go on stream? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, let's go.
All right. Well, before we dive into the game, just a reminder, why don't you take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button, but more importantly, follow Doodle Hockey on Twitter and give him some love, everyone. I'm pumped to have Jake here. And just a reminder, I do Canucks content that is passionate, realistic, and honest. And if you want to follow any of the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, just follow me on Kempner Canucks. So that's just my big little promo. But let's dive into the game, my friend. Let's dive into the game. 4-3. And this is gonna be fun. Now the big controversy is this, and everyone's gonna be talking about it for weeks, and probably it feels like it, at least tonight. People are mad. The amount of messages I got on my phone, like, that is a bunch of BS. Maybe 2, not 5. It was a major. And what did you think about the hit? Did you think it was warranted? I saw it and I was like, ooh, I can understand why they didn't like it, because it was a little dangerous. But did you think it warranted the 5 or just a 2?
No, it's a 2-minute penalty. Quinn Hughes hits him from behind, sure, a little bit, but it was definitely not a major. The funny thing about this is I saw Rick Dollywall tweet, and he was talking about how Josh Norris is best friends with Quinn Hughes, and I know Brady Tkachuk is really good friends with Quinn Hughes as well. So, like, obviously there's no intent there either, because they're best friends, so that would make no sense. So it was, yeah, I guess it was dirty, but like, it's hockey dirty. Like, it's not like crazy dirty. It wasn't worth a major. It wasn't worth getting kicked out of the game. I can see why people were pissed off. And on top of it, it's Quinn Hughes, right? Like, it's different if, Matthew Tkachuk is drilling you from the back, into the boards, compared to someone like Quinn Hughes. Like, I think that should have been alone the benefit of the doubt. Now, apparently he was bleeding a little bit. Elliot Friedman did mention that. So that is why, apparently that's why he got the major. But still, like, it's Quinn Hughes, right? Like, it's Quinn Hughes.
Are you meaning it that he's like, he's not that aggressive like guy like Zadorov or like Juleson or someone like that? Or are you meaning it like he's the superstar, you can't kick out the superstar?
Well, both. No, you can kick out superstars, but like, the thing is, it's Quinn Hughes is obviously, we know his game, right? He's a puck moving guy. He's one of the best, if not the best, in the league. And he's a skater. He's not a guy who throws big vicious fortune or hits. He's not a guy who gets a lot of penalty minutes. Like, he put some pressure on his back. He felt uncomfortable. He kind of lost his edge a bit and went into the boards. And yeah, was it a penalty? Sure, absolutely. 2-minute penalty. Was it a major to lose your best player of the game or of the team on top of it? Obviously knowing there was no intent there because it's Quinn Hughes. I don't know. I just feel like it was a kind of a bad call, to be completely honest. But I don't know, man. The refereeing is hit or miss some nights. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the big question for tonight. So how upset are you that Quinn Hughes got a major penalty? So post it in the chat, everyone, what you thought about it. And yeah, I mean, it is a dangerous play. Like, the way his head snapped back, and it kind of reminded me, I don't know if you remember back in the day when Claude Giroux nailed, was it Claude Giroux that got hurt? Chris Draper? And that when it went, so that's that is when he smashed his cheekbone on the corner. Now it was way more violent than this. It caused the bloody feud, like pun intended. Colorado, Detroit was the thing you wanted to watch after that happened. And it reminded me a little bit about that because the way his head snapped back and how close it was to the edge. And so I'm like, ooh, I can see why this is a penalty, but I can also see why Canucks fans are upset. Now, I think this is a long way to say, I do think my analogy is quite extreme. Okay. So it's like, but I saw that. I'm like, wow, I can understand why they thought it was dangerous. But Canucks fans are pretty passionate that this isn't like like getting kicked out of the game kind of feel, right?
Well, the initial, if the referee didn't see it properly in the initial glance, maybe he didn't get a good angle from it. It looked pretty dangerous, like just from maybe his specific angle. But they went and they checked the replay. They went and they checked the replay. They noticed it. They slowed it down. Once you noticed who it was, once you noticed when they slowed it down, didn't look that bad. Once you noticed like everything together, you should be able to make the proper call. So I get it, like in game speed, because this is one of the things, like we watch from the TV. It's very quick. They're watching it on the ice. It's even faster on the ice. So of course, maybe they'll miss something, but they got to replay that. They got to take a look at it. The reason I'm not as like furious about it is because I actually I was curious to see how the Canucks would play without Quinn Hughes. Would they step up? Like I was talking to a few people in my chat, and I was talking about how if they pull this game out, if they win this game, think about how big of a confidence booster that is for the team, knowing that not only did you win, you did it without Quinn Hughes, you did it without Brock Besser, you did it without JT Miller, you did it without like quite a few players, Thatcher Demko, right? Like that's a character build. And if you actually look at us in the standings right now, considering how like average we're playing overall, and considering how many injuries we have, what are we, like a couple of points away from first place, like in the division? Like, I don't know, like it's pretty good. We're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and that's maybe the big point that I was wanting to raise tonight is what you just said. Like, I don't think people understand how crucial this is that there was no JT Miller. There was no Brock Besser, no Demko, and now losing Quinn Hughes. How in the world, like, I don't think we should win games when we're missing these guys. Like, honestly. And we just pretend like we're going to win because even though it's like next man up. It's like, that's not how it works. So I know that people are like really negative about the Canucks right now. And I think I really like the positive spin that you put on it. Because if you think about it, there's no rhyme or reason why we should be winning games. Never mind we're up 4-1. We like that was early on, really, when Quinn Hughes, like in the first period, right? So, like, I think your point's super valid. Like, when a Canucks fan is going to sit back and go, "We're a depleted team, and we beat Ottawa," and I don't think Ottawa's bottom the barrel anymore. Do you?
They're a weird team. If you look at them on paper when it comes to young, talented players, they have some of the best young, talented players in the league. Like, I would love to have a guy like, even though he's kind of a meathead sometime, Brady Tkachuk on our team. Like,
I love that guy.
Sanderson, like, I would love to have him on our team. Like, there's some really good young, like, star pieces on the Ottawa Senators. But the issue is, from what I've talked to with a few Sens fans today, apparently it's just like they are just disorganized. They're disorganized, they're fragile at times, and they get pissed off pretty easily, and then they kind of lose their heads a bit. And obviously, if you're on a penalty kill the whole time, well, you're going to get scored on from time to time, and that's going to really hurt you in the long run. Think about how long it took for the Canucks to finally stop overreacting to a lot of things and just play hockey, right? It took us years to figure that out, and finally they did it. And it's not a shame. It's not a shock that we started to play a little bit better there as well. So they're a great young team, but they are missing something. I don't know if it's roster related too much. I think it's maybe something different, but you'd have to, I guess, see and talk to like an Ottawa Senators fan that's been watching them every single game and to really get a deep dive into how they are. Because I catch them from on occasion, I would say. So, and on fantasy.
Yeah, and the thing too is, okay, so like obviously they are bottom of the barrel when it comes to like to where they are in the standings. In their conference, they're literally the second worst. The only one that's worse is the Montreal Canadiens, but they still in 20 games are 8-11-1, but they have 62 goals for. Like, that's pretty good. But they have 65 goals against. Like, Montreal has 77 goals against. So they're a -21, but Ottawa is only a -3. You have Pittsburgh Penguins a -34, right? They have 93 goals scored against them, right? And so when I think of like Ottawa, I don't think of them being the bottom barrel, but really they are bottom barrel, and it's frustrating, but it's nice to see in a league of parity that we're still winning games without our key players.
And that's it. But that's just it, right? Like, maybe on paper it doesn't look like we're that good right now because of all our injuries, but we still have like superstar players on our team. Like, I know you're not the biggest Elias Pettersson guy, but Elias Pettersson is a superstar in this league. He's starting to play like a superstar once again. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, suddenly he's starting to pick up his play when some of the guys are going down. I think he's put a lot of pressure on himself now, and he needs to learn how to play under that pressure, especially when the playoffs come around, where pressure is pretty much maximized. But guys like also I like to talk about like Jake DeBrusk. Like he's been pretty average, I would say, so far with the Canucks. But if you notice, man, every time he seems to score, it's either in a big game. He's like today, like he scored a couple of goals when we needed him, he stepped up. And this is like for people that maybe don't watch Jake DeBrusk a lot in Boston, I'm telling you guys, like he might not, score 60, 70, 80 points a year. But man, when there's a game that needs to have a goal, like Jake DeBrusk is that guy, like especially in the playoffs. Like, you'll see his value in the playoffs. This guy, like he doesn't even hit in the regular season. Watch what happens in the playoffs. This guy's gonna be hitting everything like Sherwood, man. It's gonna be beautiful. You guys will see, trust me.
You know what? I'm gonna believe you on that because I have friends who are huge Leaf fans, and they were so excited when DeBrusk left. And so I was like sitting there and then I'm laughing because I'm like, I'm really pumped because basically he's a Toronto Maple Leaf killer, right? Really, at the end of the day, if you look at the big goals he scored,
he feeds on the Leafs.
He kills the Leafs, right? Now, they're all excited, and then Zadorov ends up going to Boston. And I'm like, you guys think it was bad with DeBrusk? Wait till you get the playoffs and you see Zadorov. Now, right now everyone's poo-pooing on Zadorov and he's terrible and blah blah blah, but I'm telling you right now, I think they're going to like him in the playoffs if he's still on the team.
Yeah, they make the playoffs though. That's the problem.
Yeah, right.
That's Boston right now. So, but hey, I think they've won 2 in a row. So
yeah, I know. Woo. Okay, so we talked about the Quinn Hughes hit, but I don't think people are really talking about the Höglander hit, and then he gets in a fight. And so I was watching that replay, and Stützle dangerously takes Niels Höglander into the boards from behind, and then Höglander like drops the gloves. He's ticked right off. And so I don't remember Stützle getting kicked out of the game for that. Did you?
Like I said, the refereeing can be quite inconsistent sometimes. What's your opinion on Höglander this year? Because I haven't been that impressed with him. I know he's tenacious, but he's been kind of like, he's the one guy who's been really kind of getting on my nerves because like you see the talent, like he's very talented and he's feisty and he can be a guy like look how hard a guy like Connor Garland battles, he battles so hard. And then you see Höglander like, oh man, a couple of shifts, 2-3 shifts, he works so hard and then suddenly he just disappears for like an entire period. It's like, where was that the whole game? What's your opinion on Höglander this year?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I'm a huge Höglander fan. I think I love his fight. I love that every night him and a guy like Garland, they understand that they have to play at a certain level to be able to compete. And I'm convinced that he doesn't need to be on the top 6 to be productive. Mm-hmm. Now, in saying that, like he'll score 20 goals, 25 goals this year on the bottom 6. So I'm totally okay that he's in the lower, like the lower half of the forwards. But this year, and something I noticed happened this year that I'm a little nervous about is he often gets the slew foot penalties. Mm. And it's part of his aggressiveness, but it's a little bit dirty, like it's on the border. I know he has to play with an edge, but that needs to go. And he hasn't had the greatest start to the year. So I'm with you where I'm like, yeah, I'm nervous. But if you look at the numbers for the Vancouver Canucks, it's not just Höglander, but it's everybody. Mm. There are some awful stats. If you compare from last year at this time to this year at this time. So it's the whole team, but Höglander does need to step up a little more. And I just love watching his compete level, but he hasn't produced like I was hoping by this stage. Like he should have a couple more goals by now.
Well, I think first of all, like I agree with you 100% with slew footing. I'm not a fan of it. I always think it's kind of like a chicken, play. Mm-hmm. And he does do it from time to time, but sometimes he just gets over aggressive. If that's even possible, considering you see a guy like Sherwood, who's over aggressive in the greatest ways ever. Like this guy is so good. We'll talk about him, I'm sure, later, but Höglander is an odd player. But he does have that that ability to score, like you said, like 20, 25 goals. He did it already once, maybe twice. I'm trying to remember, but I think once for sure. But like you said, like the only issue is like last season, the Canucks were, you ready for this? On the PDO heater, right? So especially at the beginning of the season where literally everything was going in for everybody. So it makes sense that maybe the stats are maybe a little inflated from that last season, but I still think we're a really, really good hockey team when we want to be. And right now we do have some injuries, which there's significant injuries. So we'll see how this Canucks team keeps trucking along here. Considering where we are in the standings with everything's that's kind of going against us, I think it's been pretty successful so far overall.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's been like, it depends on how people want to talk about this team. Like, you know what I mean? It's either like we're the worst, or it's like, hey, we've had a good start. And I'm just sitting there going, well, I don't think it's one or the other. It can be both. It can be both. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know. I think that I feel like we've had a little bit of too much overreaction theater. And part of it is the defenseman.
That's classic Canucks fans, though, right? Like, come on, like, and it's not just Canucks fans. It's if you're a fan of any sport, like, yeah, there's some mellow fans out there for sure that try to keep it cool, but like that's passion, right? Like, isn't that what we want in hockey? Like, to have that passion kind of come out, and like sometimes, it's the passion goes a little overboard, and hopefully people are not saying something really stupid online or to other people. But overall, like, you want to be a passionate fan, and because it's sometimes a lot of good things come to it. Like, look at the JT Miller chants that happened, in the playoffs, like the birth of the JT Miller chants. People were chanting Connor Garland. Even like this regular season, we've been like, when was the last time you heard Connor Garland's name being chanted in the regular season since he became a Canuck? You never heard it. That was the first time a couple of days ago or a couple of games ago. So passion is important. Canucks fans, just like a lot of fans, are, I don't want to use the word bipolar because like it's a medical term, but like they're really up and down, and that's okay sometimes. That's just being a fan. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. I guess that's where I'm like, hey, let's everyone like hit the brakes a little bit. Anyways, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, so I was super impressed with DeBrusk. We've already posted this in here, but like that first tip was like, how did when he tipped it, it went short side up top shelf, and I was like, wow, that was impressive. And then was it the second? No, it was the Bluger goal that I was like, whoa, like that happened quick. And that is the big one where you had reminded me about Sasson got his first point as an NHL guy on the Bluger goal. Sasson first point on the Bluger goal. So congrats to Max. Well done, bro. It's like we need these NHL guys to come up and produce, right?
Yeah, his father went crazy, which was really nice. I love when like players get their first points or first goals and their families are going like just crazy, and some of them cry, and some of them, like, I remember when Jake DeBrusk scored his first goal, you had his family cry in the stands, and he obviously works for, at the time, I believe, TSN. So yeah, that was pretty special. So it was nice to see, and honestly, he looked good today. So that's one of the big pointers there, is he looked really good today, and Lekker actually scored a goal down in the AHL today as well. So yeah, very successful day for the Vancouver Canucks prospects.
Right. And then let's talk about this line. This DeBrusk, PD Sherwood line. Okay. So when they moved DeBrusk up to Miller and Besser, I didn't mind that at all. I just kept thinking, well, who's like, the reason you brought DeBrusk in was to play with Pettersson. So now reuniting them has been smart, but I love this addition of Sherwood, and what a pleasant surprise. I mean, I think there's going to be a ton of Sherwood number 44 jerseys in the stands. In fact, bro, I almost bought one this week. But I didn't realize I was on NHLshop.com, not .ca. So there was a smoking deal on this military Canucks jersey. It was totally different. And it was like $161 Canadian. And it was on sale for $30% off. Okay. It was going to be like $113. I'm like, sweet, sign me up. And then I realized, oh, that's US. Yes. And then that means shipping from the United States. And okay, this is going to end up costing me a lot of money. And then on the Canadian site, there's not that jersey on there. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll get it another time or whatever. But like, I think Sherwood has started winning over in 20 games or 19, really, is it? 20 games?
Well, he averages like 8 to 9 hits a game, which is kind of not, I don't know if that actually is the accurate stat, but it sure feels that way. And like tonight he got like 10 hits. And like you notice these hits too. It's not like they're little rub off hits. Like these are like good, decent hits that you notice. He's tenacious. You don't know who he reminds me of. And maybe not like the heat seeking missile, like, you know, a guy like Raffi Torres was back in the day where he just killed people in the corners, but just the amount of hits that every time he's on the ice, it feels like he's hitting someone. And that reminds me a bit of like Raffi. And I think he has more skill than a Raffi Torres, but maybe not as much skill as say like an Alex Burrows, or maybe like not as agitating as an Alex Burrows, but like he's a weird hybrid of a hockey player. He is becoming a fan favorite. And what I really like about it is, are you guys ready for this? Are you ready for this? Have we finally found Elias Pettersson's chemistry fit that we've been waiting for so long? Now, I know it's still soon, but you guys can't tell me you don't see that chemistry right now, because Elias Pettersson and Sherwood look like a match made in heaven. And guys, remember the Sedins, you know, that we were with Anson Carter and then with Alex Burrows. You know, if Petey can, and even like Crosby with Jake Gensel, like no one was really talking about Gensel back then. Of course, then he put him with Crosby, and all of a sudden people were starting to talk about him. You know, Sherwood could be Petey's guy, and that would be a huge boost for this team, because he's not going down to the third or fourth line anytime soon right now. No way. Even with Brock comes back, and Brock takes that top line with obviously Miller and Jake DeBrusk. You're still leaving that DeBrusk Petey Sherwood line together.
Yes, I agree. And so I don't know if they've been watching, like maybe Alvin and Rutherford have been watching the channel. I'm not sure, but I've been saying you can't.
I talked to them the other day. They said, "Oh, they love you, man."
Right? Oh yeah, thanks. But the reason I facetiously say that is that I've been saying that you can't have two other smaller or weaker wingers with Pettersson. You need bigger body guys who have some skill. So when DeBrusk came, I'm like, okay, well, that guy, he's got good size, he's got good grit. The Sherwood piece has been the surprising piece, and it's like that's the kind of guy you not only to protect Pettersson, but to just have some kind of toughness out there, so that they're not only worried about Pettersson, but they're like, oh my goodness, I got to keep my head up. And then DeBrusk, I mean, he showed us tonight. He's got some super, like he's a scorer in this league. He's not Pasternak or you know some of those elite players, Nylander, some of those guys, Matthews. But like he is a significant player on a team that plays gritty. You know, so I'm thinking that you have these two tougher guys that still have skill sets centered around the guy who gets knocked over like Bambi, right? And it's working. It's working. It's like, hey, I might know a thing or two about hockey. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought you were going to say meat and potatoes. I was waiting for the meat and potatoes line.
Right?
Remember that? Remember the meat and potatoes thing with? Okay, maybe that's a throwback. Maybe a little bit too much, but
it's like an Oreo line, right? So it's like, you know, the stronger thing to the mushy guy. I don't know. That's really
bad. Hashtag Oreo.
Yeah. That's what the line's gonna be called now. Oreo line. No, trying.
I'm definitely not calling it the Oreo line, but you can go ahead. No problem.
That's awful. Okay. I gotta not lose a whole bunch of subscribers for that one. Okay. So but the point being is you're right. This line has become this chemistry line that needs to stay together and just give it like time now to say, is this the solidified line? So then when Brock comes back and Miller comes back, who plays on the left-hand side? And they've been playing Suter, which I have been saying since day one. I do not think he's a winger. He's such a better centerman. It's like we need a left winger for that line. So would you put like Höglander there, or do you like Suter there? Or what about Joshua playing with Miller and I mean, I guess the Joshua one is like you want to keep Bluger, Joshua, and Garland together, right?
Well, the thing is with Joshua, I think he still needs a little bit of time to get his feet under him. He didn't have a training camp. He didn't have any sort of preseason games, right? So he's still kind of trying to find his way, but he's looking actually better every single game. So I don't know if I'd put him in the top 6 quite yet. I would maybe wait just another week or two, and then when they all come back, give him a shot there. Why not? Like have we seen Joshua get a really long look at top 6? I don't think we have. So no. So I think that would be interesting as well. But we are missing a left winger overall. So I do feel like eventually at the trade deadline, like I am 100% certain in the next, before the deadline, probably a month or two before the deadline, we'll get a defenseman, and I am almost certain we're going to get a left winger as well. So like I think those are the two pieces we're going to be looking at, especially if we're running well by that time, right? Of course, if we're kind of fluctuating, that I'm not 100% sure if they're going to be trading a lot of assets, but left winger is a need, a right-handed defenseman's a need for sure.
Absolutely. I just want to address this in the chat. Kurt, I love it that you posted this, okay? So I think you need to go watch all my videos on this. I have like 4,000 videos on Pettersson. I'll tell you why. I don't know if I hate Pettersson, but I do not like the contract. I don't like his attitude at all. I think that he needs to be humbled. He's arrogant. Okay. And I'll tell you, Jake, you might be surprised me saying this. The audacity that he had to tell Elliot Freeman that he won't sign with us unless we become a contender. And then when we did become a contender, he's the problem. He was the problem. He sucked last year. Let's just be honest, after January. So it bothers me that he got a humongous contract. He's basically threatening the Canucks. That really bothered me. It left a very bad taste in my mouth. Now, I want to flip it and just say that I know that he's talented. I know that he has elite passing skills. I think he has a great shot. But his size, his arrogancy, I have a hard time with. And so I've been someone who's been very critical of him, especially making the money he's gotten and hasn't produced. But I did say that when he does finally start producing, that I will give him credit. And in the last number of games, you have heard me shift, and I have been very impressed with his progression. The problem is I'm tired of babysitting the fifth highest paid player in the NHL who hasn't driven a line, who's been struggling and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So I'm going on a massive rant, Jake. So let me just clarify one last time. I expect Pettersson at a top 5 level or a top 10 level if he's going to get paid top 5 money. I don't even expect him to be top 5 in the league. I expect him to be top 10 level. It's $11.6 million for 8 seasons. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like he's good when he's not. But I thought he was good tonight. I thought he was good last game. I thought he was good the game before that. And I thought he was good the game before that. So let me just clarify. You're not a big fan of Elias Pettersson, I'm guessing. I don't mind him. I just find that our fan base makes excuses for him when we shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
I think like he's not like
my hand. Let me raise my hand. I love Elias Pettersson. So
and go for it.
Painful.
Wrong with that.
Okay, so Kevin, let's go. Let's battle. Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. I mean, tell me
promo battle.
Tell me what I've said that's not true.
He may be skinny, but he's tall, so he's like not the smallest guy in the world. So there's one thing. Elias Pettersson is one of the best defensive forwards in the league.
I agree,
especially when he's at the top of his game. During that rant, unfortunately, you didn't mention how good of a defensive player he is. No. He had one season where he was basically a Selke level defensive player, and even with his offensive struggles, he was still. The numbers were the analytics. Everybody loves the whole analytics. His numbers for defensively were actually still some of the best in the league, which is something you can't just, not you, I mean, the general you, the people that are not a big fan of Pettersson just can't kind of glance over. This guy's been averaging like 85 to 90 points every single season, and that's considered him not playing well, where people would die to have a guy put up 80, 90 points. Like, think about guys like Barzal, Ehlers, like guys who get kind of, people think they're really, really good. And then you have a guy like Pettersson who's super struggling and he's still putting up 80, 85 points. Now, of course, he was not good in the playoffs last year. I was critical, just like you were critical, just like everybody was critical. And that was an experience. The thing is, he's young. That was really, I know technically that was the second playoff run, but that was the bubble time, right? That was his first real playoff run that he had. I'm sure he's learned a lot, and I have no doubt in my mind that the next time the playoffs come around, he's going to be playing really well, just like JT Miller stepped up this time around because he's had a lot of playoff experience, and I think that definitely did help a lot in that matter. Also, because Elias Pettersson did take a lot of the top-end guys' talent, other than the McDavid with the Edmonton series, he was going against some of the top lines. Remember, Elias Pettersson was opening up a lot of those lines because he took a lot of the top pairings against him as well. So I'm not saying he was great. I'm just saying, like, obviously he struggled in the playoffs and he had struggles after his contract, but people don't realize, don't give him enough credit of how good he was before that. Like, the reason he's even getting that money, which, by the way, when he signed, maybe you weren't a big fan of it, but there was a lot of people who are saying, man, that's actually pretty decent price for Elias Pettersson, because a lot of people thought he was going to get in the 12 million plus range, which he did not. And the salary cap is also going up on top of it, which that's going to look like a bargain moving forward. The guy is an elite number one center in this league, maybe not top 10, like you said, but he's a defensive center. He doesn't have to be that good offensively when you're that good defensively, and that's what he is. So I have a lot of hope for Elias Pettersson. I think he's finally playing a lot better right now, and I think I have no doubt in my mind he's gonna tear it up moving forward, man. I'm a big fan of Elias Pettersson, and that's my counter rant to you.
Okay, I wanted to listen, and I do appreciate it. Your defensive point is very valid, very valid. You're right that he had a bad year and put 89 points up. Okay, you're right. Mm-hmm. He was on fire last year. January, he was tied with Reinhart for the most goals in the NHL with 14 in the month. Okay, so again, I give him credit when credit's due. After January, my only explanation is he had to have been injured, or he just went on the longest slump we've seen. And he was not only terrible in the playoffs, he was terrible from the end of January to this season, coming back into this game, and he was not good. Like, he was not driving the line. He was not good enough. He did not look. When Bieksa is saying that he looks like a fourth liner, okay? So you can, I have my concerns when you're paying a guy top money and we have to babysit him, and it's like, oh my goodness, right? So I do agree with you, but can I just push back on one point you made? It's this
guy
is a 80 to 90 point guy every year. No, that's not true. That's not true. His first couple years when he like broke out, did he even get to 77 points? He had 2 70-point years, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. It's not great, but it's good. It's good. Then he had 102, and then he had 98. And then this year, what's he going to end up with? I think we started treating him like he's a 100-point player without seeing him being a 100-point player more than once. The problem is that the contract came up at the wrong time. So he cashed in at the right time. Smart move on his point. So if we want to actually go there, you're right about the point per game feel. That's correct. I just want to see him produce. And my biggest problem, and I'll let you rebuttal on this, Jake, okay? When you're paying him, well, even 8.7, but let's go 11.6, and you're not the best player on the team. Quinn Hughes is the best player on the team. You're not even the best forward on the team. That was JT Miller. In fact, I would even argue he might not have been even better than Besser last year. So you're talking the highest paid guy who's not even the best. Let's just give him third on that list, for argument's sake. I have a bit of a problem with that. Are you okay with that? Like, now, are you? Yeah. Anyways, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, so just the first part, the stats. Yeah, it's true that you're reading out the stats. Obviously, the defensive metrics are amazing for Elias Pettersson, one of the best in the league, and that's a major part of what makes him so good. But like a lot of those stats, like he had 71 games in the opening season, he had 66 points. He had 68 games and 66 points. Like he wasn't playing every single season 80 games. He had some injuries. So if you actually calculate, the time he missed, and you'd probably have an extra 10, 15 points. So he would be kind of around that 80, 85 point range anyway. So that's my first kind of counter rebuttal on that one. Secondly, you said he's not the best player on our team. Well, look at the Florida Panthers. So you have Barkov, right? One of the best players, right? And guess what? They also have Matthew Tkachuk, right? With Edmonton Oilers, you have Connor McDavid, and who do you have? You have Leon Draisaitl, right? Every team pretty much has multiple superstar players, especially forwards, on that team that are considered Stanley Cup contenders, unless you have maybe a mixture of defense and goaltending and things like that, where you have like star players in that. Like even look at the Jets, like they have so many star players with Scheifele there and Kyle Connor, and like you could literally make a list of almost every single playoff team that has multiple things. So he doesn't have to be the guy every time. And I'm pretty sure JT Miller, even when we decided to keep him, his stats were really good, but he had some of the worst defensive metrics you've had on the team. So, and then he figured out, oh man, you actually got to work harder on defensively. And guess what? He became a complete player, and now he's one of my favorite players on the team. And again, I can go again, like Colorado. You have Nathan McKinnon, you have Rantanen. Like this is not a weird kind of thing to have multiple scoring like top end star forwards making crazy big money. And I can guarantee you, even if we didn't sign that contract that one time, he would get the same amount of money even after that struggles. He would get, if he wouldn't get it from the Canucks, he would get it from some other team, 100%. And the fact you couldn't have let someone like Elias Pettersson go because of struggles, because at the end of the day, he said it was maybe injury related, maybe it's real life. We don't know what's going on. I would also like to say one final thing on the Elias Pettersson. We've been kind of going back and forth on it, which is fantastic. I love respectful debates. If anybody ever wants to be like podcasting or sports and like loves talking sports, having respectful debates is the best thing you could do, because you got to get both sides of every story. So I do appreciate that. The last thing is like the arrogance thing. I don't know him personally. I've seen his interviews. They come off as arrogant. I think he just, for me, it kind of comes off like he's just kind of a bit of an introvert more than anything. So I don't take it, except for that one interview in the playoffs. I was really annoyed by that one. You know which one I'm talking about probably. But other than that, I don't know. Like, I love Elias Pettersson. I have his jersey. And I'm also a huge Quinn Hughes fan too, by the way. I have his jersey as well. And I don't know. We can probably go back and forth, but I'm sure you're happy to see him play much better right now. So that's
absolutely. And to win tonight without the other guys it's a huge credit not only to DeBrusk but to Pettersson. He was on that line. He looked good tonight. I want him to be good. Okay, Jake, I want him to be good. I want him to earn his money. I want him to produce. He wants to do that. So I'm with you. I'm the guy who had the Pettersson jersey and sold it. And the reason why, well, there's a couple reasons why. One is I needed the money because I was going to an NFL game and I needed to get some cash. But I didn't think he was going to resign with Vancouver the way he was talking. And then when everything switched, I was like, oh, okay, I guess he is going to stay. So I tried to move it early. Hindsight 2020, should I kept that jersey? I'm still not convinced that was I should have kept that jersey because I don't know if I'm walking around with pride that Elias Pettersson's like our highest paid player and he's struggled like that. But in saying that, I think I'm with you where I'm like, he has the potential to be dynamic, and that's what I'm hoping. So I'm actually really on board with you because I want the same thing you want and what the fan base wants. I want us to win a cup. And if that's with Elias Pettersson, I'm happy. But if it's not with him, I'm still happy. Yeah. I just think he gives us a chance. He gives us a chance. And I like that. I like what I'm seeing in the last 5 to 7 games. And so I'm encouraged and I'm going to cheer him on. But I feel like I've got a little bit of a bent now. I'm a little bad taste in my mouth. And he's I hope he does exactly what you're saying.
You wanted a Zadorov jersey. I remember you said you wanted to buy one, right?
100%.
And
100%.
You know, Zadorov had such a great playoffs for us, man. He was amazing.
But in saying that, like, I'm not buying jerseys that people don't sign big contracts for anymore, right?
Smart. To be honest, I'm the same way.
But I mean, in saying that, I almost bought a Sherwood jersey the other day. So there's no guarantee, but I think he's going to stay in Vancouver for a while, especially the way he's playing. So I appreciate this debate because you're right. Like, it's good to go back and forth on this kind of stuff. And I know that the fan base has been up and down on it too.
It's healthy. It's healthy. And I gotta give a huge credit to your community, your chat. Like, they're amazing over here. Like, they seem really positive. They're debating themselves in the chat. It seems like you've really grown just an amazing community. And I'm very thankful that you even let me have the time here to hang out with you and speak with you. You're an amazing guy. So I really do appreciate that.
But I don't know I don't think you knew this about me, but I actually do really like the debates like that. Those are really fun for me because it's like what I liked about yours is you're bringing facts, not just feelings. Right? And that's the best kind. What I find is most people just bring the feelings and they're not, I mean, it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, well, I can get quite emotional too, especially with the Canucks, man. Like when the Sedins scored, when was it Daniel? They tied or their last game, right? They assisted on each other's goal, right? I was crying. So yeah, that was so cool. pretty emotional time. But I can get emotional when it comes to the Canucks, and in the other direction too, probably a few times. So
yeah, but in saying that, like that Daniel the Hendrick moment was special.
Yeah, it was great.
And that was one of the things that, okay, so funny that I come across that way because everyone wanted to trade the Twins. Like every 5 seconds it was like, trade them. They can't win the playoffs. Listen, like Raymond broke his back. Rome was like, got knocked out of the game. Like all these crazy things happened. And we should have won that series, right? And it's like these guys put their heart and soul. Like the Twins were strong. They were super skilled. And everyone's like, no, trade them. I'm like, no, you can't get those guys back. When you trade those guys, you don't get them back. That's the only thing about Pettersson. I'm like, I don't really want to trade him unless we get a superstar back. And usually when you're playing the best, you're trading the best player in a deal, you never get in return the proper thing. So it's like, but you know what I mean? So I'm with you. Like, I don't want to move him on the basis of he could. But man, it depends on what we got in return that I'd be open to it. Right? Yeah.
The trading Pettersson thing.
I don't think it's going to happen.
That's probably a debate for another time.
No, but you know what I'm saying is like and I guess the reason why I brought it up because everyone wanted to trade the Twins, and that was just craziness. It was craziness. I'm so glad Vancouver held on to them. I'm so glad, and then they also were so honorable. They're like, how can you sign these deals? You could get way more money on the open market. And they said, well, when we sucked, Vancouver stayed with us. So now that we're good, we're going to stay with Vancouver. And I thought that really impressed me when they talked like that. The Twins were phenomenal talents. And how the heck that Brian Burke got him, what a blessing, right? So I know we switched gears here, Jake. I do apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's your show.
Yeah, right?
Talk whatever you want, man. I'm just in for the ride. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I need to. I want to give a big shout out to Major for the donation, and he says I think Petey will surprise most of us with his production this year. I agree. I hope that's true. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I'm dead wrong about Pettersson on some of those things, the criticisms. I'm really excited about this team when we're healthy. I think this team healthy, this team's way better than what we've seen this year. We've not had one game where we've all been healthy yet.
Mm-hmm.
So
correct. Yeah.
Like, for example, Jake, I don't know how you feel, but I'm very passionate that if the Canucks were healthy, we would have beat Edmonton last year.
I agree wholeheartedly. And Shelovs did a great job in that overall. But like, no offense to Shelovs, like the Vezina candidate goalie was injured, right? And the fact that we had such a decent run, such a great run, we could have gone even further, to be honest. Without Demko, was pretty amazing. It just, everybody stood up, everybody showed up. Almost everybody, because Petey didn't really show up, but overall, most people showed up during the playoffs, and man, wasn't that fun? Did you go to any playoff games there?
Yeah, I went to the one where JT Miller scored in Game 5 against Edmonton.
Excellent.
It was unbelievable. You should watch that video, dude. I have a YouTube short as well, and I'm in the crowd chanting JT Miller. It was awesome. So, funny story about that game. I've got to get on the ferry, okay? And the weather was so bad that they normally wait till midnight. Okay. So you can do one or possibly two overtimes. And then if you got to make a decision, are you staying the night or are you hitting the ferry? You're going to leave the game early. So my buddy and I are sitting here and we're like, oh my goodness, like we're going. And then they said, the weather's so bad, we're leaving at 11, no matter what. Okay. And my friend turns to me and goes, I guess we're staying the night. And I'm like, nope, we're going to score. We're going to score.
Oh, nice.
And he comes down, I would say a few seconds later, maybe a couple minutes later max, but probably a few seconds later, scores that goal right near the end. So anyone that was on that ferry cheered extra loud because we all made it home that evening. It took us an hour and 45 minutes to get home on that ferry because the weather was so bad. The waves were so brutal. They actually said we shouldn't have left. So it was wild. Like we were bouncing on that thing. But when JT scored, it was so electric in that building, bro. That was amazing. So yeah, that's my kind of little fun story about that. I'm loving what the chat's doing in here. It's been a lot of fun watching it. I haven't seen a ton of it, but I've done enough to see. These guys are great. These guys and girls are great in here. What I wanted to just bring up this last thing before we go, though, Jake. You posted a video of this, and you put a hilarious song behind it. So, guys, just go follow. Go follow him. Their Doodle Hockey. It's worth it. I'm going to retweet it or repost it so everyone can see it on my socials. But what did you think about the keep away?
Oh, so good. Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, I need to make a tweet on this because I got like 3 or 4 people were messaging me about it, saying you got to do something, you got to do some sort of tweet on it. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm just starting kind of Twitter when it comes to hockey right now, so I'm like, whatever. I'll throw some music in it, Yakety Sax music. Everybody knows the Yakety Sax song, so it's kind of a funny song, and I just thought it'd be funny more than anything. It's kind of just for laughs and giggles and stuff. And yeah, it was like a minute. I think it was like a minute 48 seconds. They held the puck without letting Ottawa kind of touch it. And the crowd was getting a little more frustrated as it was happening. And then, of course, at the very end, because it was a delayed penalty, but then they took another penalty at the very end. because they were so kind of pissed off about it. So yeah, just a funny moment in the game. I'm sure there's going to be some YouTubers that are going to make a video on that. Knockhead, I'm looking at you. If you're in here, come on. This is your territory perfectly for you, buddy. I'm not sure if he's in here, but or Clay even. I know he makes videos too, and you make videos as well. So maybe you could do that as well. So, but yeah,
the last one I did, Jake, that just went viral was I did the video of Bedard with a circle around him during the actual game. Did you hear about this?
No, I haven't seen that.
So I'm watching the game and they have a circle following Bedard everywhere. Okay. And it's like nobody else on the thing. It's not a replay. It's not a highlight. It's nothing. It's literally during the game. There's a circle following Bedard. And I'm like, this is so weird. Why in the world are they doing this? Because I understand. Remember when Fox did the blue chip, or the chip that had the blue streak? When they shot the puck and it sort of showed.
Oh, that was awful. Yes, I remember that.
So it was just like that, except for there's a circle around him. Okay, now I got to take down this Pettersson debate thing. So what happened was I posted as a Canadian. I'm having a really hard time watching this. First of all, he's number 98. Second of all, he's the best player on the ice at the time, plus the best player on the Chicago Blackhawks. And it's not just this American versus Canadian thing. It's Chicago who won cups. You don't need to put a circle around him. This is an intelligent fan base in Chicago. And so I was so annoyed. I posted it. Dude, it's gotten like 280,000 people have watched it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's a pretty nice viral clip.
It's like 20 seconds or something like that, 40 seconds. So I hope that yours goes viral because it is so good.
No, it's just quick.
Dude, you have 40,000 people that have already seen it. It's been up for 3 hours.
I don't know. It's just a quick little thing I put together. It wasn't anything special, but
I know, but that's sometimes what goes viral.
Yeah, appreciate the love. I appreciate that.
Anyways, I gotta end this stream. I got some stuff to do before tomorrow, so I want to thank you, Jake, so much for being on. I have honestly really enjoyed connecting with you, having you on the show. I know that people in the chat are very pumped to have you here as well. I've seen a bunch of that in here. So thank you so much. Any last thoughts or comments before we go?
Are you a wrestling guy?
I used to be. So, but I haven't in a while. I know who Roman Reigns is, and that is it.
You gotta watch when you have time, Rev. When you have time, take the time, go on YouTube, type in the entire Bloodline storyline on YouTube from the official WWE website on YouTube or whatever channel, and go watch it. It's about 3 hours long. It's long, so have some popcorn or whatever, and watch it from the beginning to the end, and you'll be a wrestling fan. They're really picking up right now. Wrestling is amazing, and I have an amazing community over there as well doing wrestling. So it's fantastic, and wrestling's a great thing, and it's growing like crazy right now again. So
which I did not know until just recently. I watched the Vince McMahon series. That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I haven't caught it yet.
It was nostalgic for me too, because I was all the wrestlers when I was growing up showing that, and so some of the best storylines are in there. I mean, I grew up in the Hogan era, right? So I grew up watching the Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, all those guys. Those are great. Roddy Piper, Andre the Giant. I remember when he slammed him at WrestleMania. I remember all those things. Then when it went to Stone Cold and The Rock, that was next level epic. I just don't see that anymore. Mm-hmm. The conversations aren't the same. And not that I didn't like it when they got into the sexuality stuff and the demonic stuff. That really bothered me. So that's when I started stepping out. But I didn't find that the personalities are there like it used to be. The storylines are there. So maybe I'm wrong and I need to pick it back up. So I'll check out the Bloodline.
Yeah, check out the Bloodline stuff. Trust me, it's good stuff. Really good stuff. And yeah, thank you everybody for having me. Thank you, Rev, for having me. I really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll catch up again sometime here. You have a great community here. It's seems to be very positive, and I love positivity. It's a big thing for me. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. We'll be live streaming again after. Thanks so much for being here. Hit the like and subscribe. And of course, always go Canucks go.
Wow.